After having a controversial picks 10 through 6 for my Western Conference predictions, we're also going to be having another controversial pick here, and we're going to be going over picks 1 through 5. And I know a lot of people are going to be questioning why the Portland Trail Blazers aren't in here. And here on the charge, I'm going to explain why I think these 5 teams are better in that regard. Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Bernie here, bringing you yet another video here in the charge, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And before we get started on to today's video talking about picks 5 through 10 for the Western Conference, go and check out our other videos we have here on the channel as well. We of course have the videos talking about picks 10 through 6 and why I think Portland is going to miss the playoffs this season. And we also have a video talking about the Skylar Diggins fiasco, what she said about Harrison Barnes on LeBron James, and the WNBA versus WNBA pay gap issue. I want you guys to go in that video and comment down below what you guys think of that whole ordeal. But right now, like I said, we got to go over picks 5 through 1. And the first team we got to start off with, of course, is number 5, the Utah Jazz. Now, a lot of people are going to be wondering why I picked the Utah Jazz at number 5. Why are they so high? I feel like they're going to regress a little bit. But the one thing you can't deny about the Utah Jazz is that a team with Quinn Snyder is a very good team. And I know that he is a Greg Popovich disciple, but he kind of has that Greg Popovich in him where he can combine a team or make a team of, I would say, role players and not really as strong starters, become a very good, dominant team that can get the playoffs every time. And I think he's going to incorporate that into his coaching career as he goes further on. I know he's a little bit older at 51, but at the same time, Quinn Snyder is a coach that I feel can carry any team that with any talent and get them into the playoffs. It doesn't hurt to have Donovan Mitchell, and it doesn't hurt to have Rudy Gobert. And with Rudy Gobert, speaking of him, he's going to be my X factor for the Utah Jazz this season. As we saw when the Utah Jazz didn't have Rudy Gobert, they were very terrible. And the reason why that is because his defensive ability to really block shots and really cause problems for the opponents, if he's not in there, the teams can easily go in and drive to the hole. It's a lot easier to go to the basket. But the further you away from the basket, the better it is for Rudy Gobert because he'll be able to swat everything. And the percentages of them likely missing that shot go even higher the further away you go. Obviously, you know, guys like Steph Curry might break that mold. But with Rudy Gobert, it makes it a lot tougher for those teams to kind of be like, all right, we can have an easy night by going for an easy layup. Because the layup is the easiest shot in the game. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But another thing that we also have to look at is, of course, Donovan Mitchell. Can Donovan Mitchell improve his jump shot? I know that he is a great player, he's a great slasher, but the one thing that is going to hurt him just a little bit is Donovan Mitchell's jumper. I know it was pretty decent last season, but if he can just improve that just a little bit more, then I think he'll be in for a rude awakening in terms of making a statement in this league, because I know he was hurt about being snubbed Rookie of the Year, and I think he's going to use that motivation to really carry him into the future here on out. Another question that I also have with this team is also Dante Exum's new contract. Of course, it was a 3-year, $33 million deal. My question is, will the Jazz end up giving him the reins to the kingdom in terms of giving him the starting point guard position, or are they going to still stick with Rubio, who's more of an average point guard? I think a lot of people turn their eyes and their opinions on Ricky Rubio this last season. A lot of us thought he was kind of a scrub or he wasn't as good as we thought he was. But this season, under Quinn Snyder, he actually played really well and he fits into that system extremely nicely. So the question will be, will Dante Exum eventually take over his reins as he has a longer contract than Ricky Rubio? This is, of course, Ricky Rubio's last year, and we do a whole fixer-upper on them. So if you guys are interested in that, if you're Utah Jazz fans, go and check that video out as well. But another thing that we also have to talk about is, of course, Grayson Allen, as they were the draft pick. Is he going to be making an impact this year? I think as a role player, he'll make a very great impact. I think with him, he's a guy that I could see annoying people, be the instigator of the team. He is going to be in that role of Joe Ingles, which what he did to Paul George last season, if we remember in the playoffs. I think Grayson Allen will be the protege of Joe Ingles, and we'll see how Grayson Allen improves. Obviously, the Summer League wasn't as good, but it's just Summer League, and I think you can't really look much into it. I mean, we've seen other players dominate like Lonzo Ball, and he had a very inconsistent year. So I think with that, Grayson Allen will be just fine. Hopefully, he improves his jumper, and we'll see what he's able to do here on out. But the one thing I like about this team, and the one thing this team reminds me of, is those Carlos Boozer, Derek Williams with like Matt Harpring, Andre Karolinko, Mehmet Okur. They just remind me of this team because it's just a bunch of, I wouldn't say misfit toys, but I would say just a bunch of random guys just put together and are being able to contend and be very difficult to play against. I mean, we saw the Lakers struggle against them if we remember that Derek Fisher series. Unfortunately, his daughter had, I believe, some sort of eye cancer or something like that. But the way that he came back and the whole Utah Jazz organization came around him and the whole team that per se, that team just reeks of this team that we're seeing right now. Even though we got a better defender, I think offensively it's not as good as I think those teams, but defensively I think they're a lot better, and I think that's the reason why I like this team so much. It's always going to be a tough place to play at the Delta Center, or I'm sorry, the Energy Solutions Arena. I think that's what it's called now. Either way, the Utah Jazz will be at number 5. At number 4, I of course have the Houston Rockets. And before you guys start screaming and leaving angry comments down below, hear me out on this. I think that the Houston Rockets missed their window of opportunity to be in that championship contending opportunity last season when they missed 27 threes, I should say, in that game 7. And they had the Warriors playing a different style than what they're used to. They were playing iso ball, and that's what the Warriors wanted not to do. I mean, they wanted to keep passing and moving the ball around and giving other people opportunities, but they let Kevin Durant do his iso thing. And the fact that you guys missed 27 threes in a row tells me one thing. Tells me 3 things, actually. 1, D'Antoni is not a situational awareness coach. He doesn't know the situation if it's like, hey, we missed 10 threes in a row. How about we actually slow down and actually take some shots? Another thing, of course, is Chris Paul. I know he got hurt in that game 5, I believe. And that's another thing with him. It's how does he not tell the team, look, let's not take that many threes and let's actually cool it down and let's keep it going. And then we also have James Harden as well, who to me disappointed me the most is because he was very inconsistent again this year. As much as I love James Harden's game, as much as he is probably one of the most exciting players to watch, he disappointed me in the playoffs. I think I'm very disappointed in the way that he was very inconsistent. He was a contributor to the missing threes. I understand that his game is based on fouls, but he's not going to get a lot of foul calls doing his thing in the NBA. I mean, it's going to be a different type of game, and I hope that this coming season he kind of learns that. But I think it's going to be too late for this team, because another thing that I really hated about them was the fact that they had a poor style of play. I hate that style of play, that iso ball, 5 seconds left on the clock, dribble, take a shot. It's not going to work. I mean, we saw it not work in the NBA Western Conference Finals. Yes, you got to a game 7. What sucked is you missed your opportunity to get to the NBA Finals because Chris Paul was not being able to go on the court. And that's another thing that sucks, is that Chris Paul is injury prone. I'm sorry to say it, he is. And that's the same thing with the guys like Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry. They are injury prone. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the way that they're built, and that's just the way the game is. So having Chris Paul put his heart out and soul out there, it just sucks to see that he couldn't do it. And I think as he gets a year older, I think the injuries are going to start to pick up a little bit. I mean, last season he missed a lot of games along with Steph Curry and other guys like him. So I think this is going to be a year where the Houston Rockets take a step back. They also bring in a guy in Carmelo Anthony. Although I appreciate his game and I think he's a future Hall of Famer, there is no ands or buts about it. But at the same time, he's just not the same Carmelo at all offensively. I understand I'm seeing workout videos of him doing his thing. Obviously, he's working out with J-Law basketball, and I'm watching the Instagram stories every day, seeing like how he's improving. But the one thing that Carmelo was never bad at was offense. Offensively, he's a great player. I mean, his shot is a little bit hit or miss this coming season, or last season, I should say. But it's defensively. I mean, can you hide the defensive liabilities of both James Harden and Carmelo Anthony? That's going to be a tall task for any team, especially with Chris Paul. Chris Paul is your best defender, and then you have PJ Tucker and then Clint Capella. I mean, in terms of that order of being importance, because I know Capella is a very great defender as well. He's probably the best one on the team other than Chris Paul. But you lose a guy in Trevor Ariza, who I think was the best fit for you guys. But at the same time, it's just disappointing to see that you replaced a guy who's a 3 and D guy to a guy that's 3 and no D. That's just what sucks about it. Carmelo Anthony, I still appreciate your game, and I think you're one of the greatest players to do it. But at the same time, I just don't think it's a great fit, especially when you have 2 ball-dominant point guards, or guards, I should say, and then you have a guy in Carmelo Anthony who will also be dominating the ball as well. There's not going to be a lot of movement, and we're just going to get this ugly iso ball. And like I said, it's just not going to work this year. If D'Antoni and Carmelo couldn't work in New York, I don't expect them to work in Houston. And that's why I think at 4, it's probably the best fit for them being the number 4 seed. Now, of course, we have the number 3 seed, which is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I know a lot of people are going to be, oh, wow, here we go. The Thunder over the Rockets, you're crazy. But one thing that I can appreciate about the Thunder is that Westbrook, after finally, at 29 years old, he's finally listening to someone and getting a new shooting coach. We know that Russell Westbrook isn't the best three-point shooter. He's probably a little bit below average or too average as a three-point shooter. And that's something that he needs to improve. And I'm hopefully with the new shooting coach, he can do that. Another thing that I liked about the Thunder is that they were able to obtain the services of Paul George again. And with having Paul George there and having Russell Westbrook there, one thing's for certain. Without Carmelo there, it's addition by subtraction. This team will finally know everyone's roles. Everyone will know who the number 1 option is, who the number 2 option is, who's the rebounder, who's the scorer, who's the guy that gives the assist. That is the thing that the Thunder team that I want to see. And I think we will see that this coming season, especially when we get Andre Robertson back, who's going to be healthy again. It's going to be a good season for the Thunder. I think that they will be hungry and try to prove the doubters wrong, especially Russell Westbrook. After getting that MVP, he's kind of fallen off a little bit. Obviously, he averaged a triple-double, but he didn't get an MVP or MVP consideration last season, so I think he's going to try and prove to everyone that he deserves that MVP consideration. So we'll see what they can do there. And they didn't have a 2018 draft pick, as of course they traded it. And I think that now that everyone knows their clear roles, and you have Dennis Schroeder coming off the bench, I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of him, but I think he could add some value to this team. We'll just have to wait and see on him. But that's the reason why I have Oklahoma City Thunder at number 3. At number 2, of course, this might be another controversial one, but I have the Los Angeles Lakers being the number 2 seed. And the reason why I have them at number 2 is because I think LeBron, who averages at least 50 wins a season, is the huge reason why I think they'll be number 2. I mean, we saw what the Lakers could do last season. They went on a little mini run. Obviously, a lot of injuries kind of played into it. But I think with LeBron James there, they're going to win and improve their win totals. And I think the number 2 seed is probably realistic for them. Another thing is we're also going to be seeing an improvement from Brandon Ingram. This is going to be the season. This is the final one where we see, can he average that 22 points per game, which I think he can, and become a star for the LA Lakers here on out, which means that they can bring in just one more superstar and that team will be finally complete. Another thing, though, that we have to question, and this is the one thing that kind of worries me about the Lakers pick at number 2 and why maybe they might fall down a little bit, is how effective will Lonzo Ball this season? We all saw that he has a new jump shot. Go and check that video out if you haven't. But he has a new jump shot. He's obviously working on his game, but will he be able to drive to the hole? Will he be as effective as Rondo? That's the one thing that we're going to have to find out and wait and see. And another thing that we have to ask is, of course, the maturity issues. We all know that Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, and Kyle Kuzma, they all go in at each other. They all have laughing jokes. But we saw that when those jokes really mattered, Magic Johnson had to step in and say, hey, you guys need to quit it out, or we're not getting LeBron James. We're not getting championship aspirations. And that's the one thing that when you have LeBron James on your team, and I've talked about it numerous times, when you have LeBron James on your team, it's championship or bust. It's not, we're going to the playoffs, we can laugh and joke. I mean, these guys have to grow up really quick if they want to be known with the top echelon of great players. If Kyle Kuzma wants to be a great player, if Lonzo Ball and Josh Hart want to be great players, they have to listen to LeBron James. They have to listen to Magic Johnson and mature and grow up. I think, it was fine for a young team, a team that's not really winning as much, a team that is just going to be a bottom feed lottery team or close to a playoff team. That's fine to joke around and be kind of silly, especially with diss tracks and all this other offseason activities. But when you're in championship mode or when you're in playoff contending mode, that changes completely. You can't be as lackadaisical. You can't be as laid back as you normally can be. You have to be more uptight. You have to be more aggressive into getting what I think that this team can be. And that's, of course, a championship contending team. I think this team has the right pieces. Maybe not right now, maybe next year when they get another superstar. But this is something that I think the Lakers have to work on. And we're going to see if Josh Hart will be in the starting rotation next season, as KCP is going to be there for now. Can he get in the starting rotation? Is Kyle Kuzma ready to prove that that stat line from last year can come to next year? Can he do that? That's going to be the real question with this LA Lakers team. And of course, they got Mo Wagner as their draft pick for the Lakers. And like I said, I think LeBron James there, I think the maturity starts when the regular season begins or when the preseason begins, when everybody's together, everybody's working out together. I think that's when the maturity thing starts, and that's when we're going to see, I won't say we won't see any shenanigans from Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, and Lonzo Ball. Obviously, that's funny and that builds their brand. I think we're going to see a little bit more, but I think we're not going to see it as venomous, I would say, like the Lonzo Ball daddy line. I mean, I don't think we're going to be seeing that anytime soon. I hope not, because that'll mean a trade's coming soon. But I think if these guys can grow up just a little bit, I mean, you can still have your Instagram fun here and there, but I think if you're more focused on basketball, being hungry for it, then I think this Lakers team will be at number 2, and I have no questions that this team will hopefully get to the Western Conference Final and face the number 1 team. And of course, the number 1 team we have, and it's no secret, it's the Golden State Warriors. I mean, this team has an all-star starting 5. This team is projected to go 82-0. I mean, that's probably not realistic, but when you also have guys like Qatar Clay, China Clay, Asia Clay, European Clay. I mean, you have so many Clays in that team. I mean, you don't know which Clay you're going to get. But the real question that I have for this team is, with Boogie Cousins added, does this affect the chemistry better or worse? I mean, do we get, because I mean, think about it. There's a lot of hot-headed guys on this team. You have Boogie Cousins, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, and also Steph Curry can be a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of hot-headed, and especially Steve Kerr as well. I want to know if they're going to be able to keep a cohesive unit. I mean, obviously, we won't know the behind-the-scenes stuff until probably a couple years later if like some stuff comes out. But that's going to be the interesting thing about this team. Is Boogie Cousins going to help or harm them in terms of the chemistry? I think as a player, he'll be great. And I think that they're not going to get him till later in the season, so maybe they have a couple of months to integrate him slowly and maturely. But another question that we have to ask, are they still hungry to win a championship? And I know that they probably are, but, you know, having won 3 championships, especially for Steph Curry, my question for him will be, is he still hungry? Is Klay Thompson still hungry? Is Draymond Green still hungry? I know that Kevin Durant will be, because he's been in Twitter wars and Twitter beef, and I know that kind of motivates him. But my question will be for the other guys, will they be able to stay motivated? Another question I have as well is Steph Curry going to be healthy? We all know that the ankles are a big issue and the knees are a big issue. That's the one thing with Steph Curry you have to worry about if you are a Golden State Warriors fan. He is injury prone, and it's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing. It's just that's the nature of his build, is that he's just going to be a injury prone type of player. So it's going to be, how do you preserve him for not picking up an injury towards the later part of the season and actually being in the playoffs from the first round all the way to the NBA Finals? And I think we'll have to wait and see on that, but it's going to be an interesting thing to see if he can be able to stay healthy this whole season. Another thing is that even with all the concerns that we have, the Golden State Warriors will be the #1 pick. And, you know, they also drafted a guy in Jacob Evans, a bench player with good defensive skills. I think that that's probably a solid pickup for them, as their bench is depleting a little bit and getting a little bit older. And that's going to basically do it for the video, guys. What do you guys think of my picks as Utah Jazz at number 5, Houston Rockets at number 4, OKC at number 3, Lakers at 2, and the Golden State Warriors at 1? Am I wrong? Am I right? Well, who do you guys have in the top 5 positions for this team? These are the top 5 teams to represent the West, and we'll see what these teams can do. Are the Golden State Warriors for real? Is Oklahoma City Thunder ready to contend? Is the Utah Jazz ready to be the number 5 seed? Are the LA Lakers ready for that number 2 role and becoming, at least going to the Western Conference Finals? We'll see about this, but when we do a playoff prediction. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for my video on who I think is going to be the top 10 NBA teams. And of course, we did 5 through 1 in this video. If you guys have any comments, leave them down below. What do you guys think of my picks? But anyway, guys, go and hit that subscribe button. Go and hit that like button. Also, go and check out our other videos we have here, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.